Hi, welcome to The Pursuit of Truth. So I was watching Sky News. They were talking to a guy who had just, I think, come out of prison or spent some time for the January 6th riots in America after Donald Trump lost to President Biden. And I'm not, a Trumper, whatever they're called, or I'm not affiliated with Trump or Biden or any political party these days because they're all the same. Just one of them cares a little bit more for people, one of them cares a little bit more for economics, but none of them want to change the status quo or actually fix the problems or work together. They just want to compete against each other like some kind of drama performance. So, yeah. What was interesting to me was he had an interview with Mark Austin, and Mark Austin wasn't really winning this argument, and you could see he was getting frustrated and using the tactics that media journalists do. And I really like Mark Austin as a journalist. He comes across as very, I don't know. I mean, he seems good to me anyway in his reporting, in his emotion. But yeah, because this guy started to talk about, quote unquote conspiracy. Of course, it's as we all know, as a CIA or FBI loaded term. And whenever you use that word, that means everyone stops listening, even if you're talking about truth. And that's how you can use certain words. That's the magic of words, the spelling of words that can, because they're things that we already understand, and we've been brainwashed through the times to use these certain words and metaphors and etc. White hats, black hats, in cinema and all that kind of stuff, to know what's good and what's evil, what's right, what's wrong, and all that kind of stuff, what to believe and what not to believe. Yeah, so it was interesting how he wasn't entertaining, he's brought this person on to talk to him, but he's already made up his mind. They've already got an agenda. And I don't, to me, this whole thing isn't really about Trump. This is about the people. Because these riots, the reason why they want to come down heavy on Trump is so that the people watching think, wait a minute, you don't have power, don't ever do that again. Because they know in reality that if people all stood up, they would outnumber any military, any government. There's more people than anyone else, obviously. So that's why they want to keep that, want to come down hard on this. Even because if you compare it, say, with President Bush going into an illegal war, lying to the public about weapons of mass destruction, and then getting our Prime Minister, Tony Blair, to lie to us about weapons of mass destruction, a war that Kofi Annan afterwards, leaving the UN, said was an illegal war, and we all knew that they weren't using the UN resolution properly. Everyone knew that. It was regime change, which is against international law, because what happened when they went to Iraq and Afghanistan, they got rid of the governments. That's regime change. It's against international law. So even on that basis, if you don't think of the basis of going in there and bombing them to shit, finding weapons of mass destruction never found, trying to make some kind of tenuous connection to the Saudis, alleged to Saudis that were in the plane in 9/11, of retaliation, or to get oil, or to disrupt the Middle East so that they could regain their power against. But he faces nothing. The blood on his hand. But a man who may have caused some riots. Anyway. Yeah, so let me play this, then you can hear it.
They sang about prison when he last took the campaign stage, without a hint of irony. There's a hint of the noose tightening about the case of the United States versus Donald J. Trump. James Matthews, Sky News, in Washington.
Well, Donald Trump has slammed the latest charges of dishonesty, deceit and fraud against him as a fake. The former US president's accused of attempting to overturn the result of the 2020 US presidential election, linking him to the January the 6th Capitol riots. In footage released of the insurrection, you may remember seeing a rioter wearing a horned headdress with his face painted with the colours of the American flag. Jacob Chansley was jailed over his participation in the riot. And he joins me now from Arizona, Thank you for coming on the programme. Now, you were among the first rioters into the Capitol building. In a sense, you know, your image of the headdress and the horns became symbolic of this attack on American democracy. My first question is, do you regret it now?
Well, first of all, I noticed in the clips that you guys showed that you did not show the clip of Donald Trump talking about going to the Capitol peacefully. Secondly, I am not a rioter. I did not riot on that day. And lastly, if we look into the claims that were made and the amount of cases all over the country regarding this notion of election fraud and dead people voting and, ballot harvesting and drop boxes and stuff like that, then many of these claims may not be unfounded, and all of those things could easily be subpoenaed during Trump's trial. Now, regarding this idea of regrets, we all have regrets in life, sir, but if we live in the past and we allow our regrets to weigh down our minds and our hearts, then we cannot spiritually ascend. We cannot become better men. We cannot become better women.
So you do regret it? You see, the reason I ask... The reason I ask is that you say it wasn't a riot, and you say that it was Donald Trump was talking about it being peaceful.
I did not riot.
No.
What I said was I did not riot.
Okay, and you said Donald Trump said it should be peaceful, but effectively, the people who went into the Capitol building forced a crucial session of Congress to be abandoned, sent fear throughout the building, and dozens of police were injured. So it sounds to me like it wasn't peaceful and it was a riot.
Well, that's democracy, isn't it?
Well, I said I didn't riot. That's what I said. There was certainly a riot outside, but inside the building, there was largely peaceful demonstrations going on. The only real casualty was a woman that was 5'0" and was shot by a Capitol police officer, and she was unarmed. And also, I wanted to speak to this notion. We don't live in a democracy here in the United States of America. We live in a constitutional republic. And the Operation Mockingbird media just keeps pushing this notion that this is a democracy. This is a democracy. You know, Benjamin Franklin once said that a democracy is 2 wolves and a lamb voting on what's for dinner, and a republic is a well-armed lamb contesting the vote. And I think that is a distinction that should be made clear.
Well, you can elect a president every 4 years, and and it does go on. And there were no suggestions that the last election was fraudulent. I just wonder about Donald Trump, because he's now charged with spreading lies to overturn.
What I like about this is how the journalists will want to tell you what to believe. Why did he add that bit about? It's, there was no idea of fraud. Well, there was lots of people that were bringing it up. They may not have been the people you wanted to listen to, but there was lots of people that were questioning it, like dead people voting. I mean, that is a questionable thing. But he's telling you so that people watching at home follow what, it's like the people outside rioting. Well, isn't that democracy, for people to do what they want to do? No, you can only do what you do freely as long as you do what we tell you to do and believe what we tell you to believe. If I say it was a riot, it was a riot.
Spreading lies to overturn the election. You bought into those lies. I just wonder if you're angry that you've spent such a long time in prison because of the lies and the deceit of Donald Trump.
Well, if you watch the documentary 2000 Mules and you look at the evidence regarding the election, then it's quite clear that not only was the 2020 election rigged and corrupted, but pretty much every election since Kennedy and even beforehand has been corrupted. I mean, the only reason Kennedy got into office was because his father had connections with the mob, the CIA, and the FBI, and this is a proven fact.
There's no evidence.
But hold on.
But there's no evidence the 2020 election was fraudulent.
What you're doing,
there's no evidence.
No, what you're doing is
simply
you're
no evidence.
Hold on. No, that's not true. And there was no evidence whatsoever that Donald Trump was colluding with Russia. But that didn't stop the media from pushing that narrative and spying on his campaign and spying on him as a president for 4 years. That didn't stop them from pushing those lies that have never been retracted.
Do you still
have
believe
never been
the
retracted.
election was stolen? Do you still believe the election was stolen?
Have you read the book Rigged?
I'm asking you, do you still believe the election was stolen?
I believe that the election in 2020, like the election here in Arizona in 2022, just like many elections over the last several decades, are rigged. They are selection processes, not election processes.
Well,
because there is a very real shadow government, a very real bureaucratic mess in Washington, D.C. that is connected to globalist New World Order interests that are trying to monopolize all of our resources and all of our labor all over the planet. They are trying to enslave the planet.
Right. Isn't the stolen election theory just one of the conspiracy theories spouted by QAnon? I mean, do you still believe a secret cabal controls global governments? Do you still believe Hollywood and the liberal Democrat elite crave the blood of children in a bid to sustain their youth and run a vast paedophile ring devoted to abduction and sexual abuse of children? Do you believe those things?
Do you mean like what Jeffrey Epstein was doing?
Do you believe
Is that what you're talking about? Things like that? Hold on. Are you...
That shot him down when he said that, because he's going on all these things, and yeah, obviously Jeffrey Epstein, Jimmy Savile, lots of these that we're now finding out about. I need to play that again.
Do you mean like what Jeffrey Epstein was doing?
Do you believe
Is that what you're talking about? Things like that? Hold on. Are you aware of the Council on Foreign Relations? Are you aware of the Bilderberg Group? Are you aware of the IMF?
You're putting it about the senior Democrat politicians were involved in a vast...
Oh, it's Republicans and Democrats. No. It's Republicans and Democrats. Because
so you still believe this stuff?
Look into the Franklin cover-up. Okay? What we're talking about here is a uniparty in D.C. that has been blackmailed or coerced into submission to a much larger global New World Order.
Jacob, what we're talking about here is zero evidence. That's what we're talking about here. Look,
no, that's not what we're talking about here.
If Donald Trump is found guilty, what will happen? Will there be...
See, he couldn't win the argument. He couldn't take what the man was saying and saying, well, let's look at that. So, because he couldn't win the argument, he didn't want to spend time to look at the argument, he just says, there's zero evidence. I like the man, but you could see he was flustered.
Talking about
if Donald Trump is found guilty, what will happen? Will there be unrest, do you think? Does he have enough support?
Well,
does he still have that kind of support that would cause unrest?
Here's the thing. The conspiracy charge was used to go after mafia members, and it has since been used to go after American citizens for a long time. And it's very easy to get a conviction based on a conspiracy charge. Okay? That's why they charged him with conspiracy. Now, this may end up backfiring because the information regarding the election will end up becoming public knowledge through these court filings. So this may end up snapping back on the people that are pressing these charges, because now it all is going to be out in the open, and the very real evidence that there was fraudulent or rigged certain portions of the election. I mean, think about it. Every time.
There is no evidence.
Hold on, dude.
We spent about 7 or 8 minutes talking about conspiracies. Every
time the Democrats lose an election, they scream election fraud and they scream election rigging. Every time the Republicans lose, they scream election fraud and election rigging. Yep. So the centrist view, the objective view, is that our elections are corrupt in the United States of America, and they have been corrupt for a long time.
But Jacob, this time there is no evidence that the 2020 election...
That's not true at all. You're lying. You're lying.
Look, we could go on all night. We're talking about conspiracies an awful lot, so we might as well end it there. But listen, I appreciate you coming on the program.
Conspiracy theory is something. Conspiracy theory is a title that was used by the CIA and the media after nobody buyed what.
I think he was going to talk about Kennedy being assassinated. So there you go. I mean, I'm not following this thing of Trump and etc. But you've got to give the man. The thing is, like, the journalists just didn't want to engage or try and. That's the thing, is that they're not there really to find the truth or whatever. They just wanted him to say certain things, and when he didn't say the things that they wanted him to say, it's like, wow, that's it, goodbye, end of interview, you're just talking rubbish now. rather than, well, a minute. I mean, it'd be funny if they do find out that there is evidence of that there were things that didn't add up right. And then what all the journalists going to say? Oh yeah, you were right. I don't know, I mean, I came from a neutral view and watching this, not, liking Trump, but listening to what the guy was saying, you've got to think that, oh, there's something he's saying here. Some of it sounds reasonable. Well, let's go and investigate it rather than just saying, oh, everything's perfect, everything's fine. The people in the white hats, we can all trust them. We all know history. We all know what goes on, no? We've all had the secrets uncovered throughout time through the media that we trust. And now we're going to pretend that, oh yeah, humans are perfectly fine in powers of position. Nothing like this could possibly happen. We couldn't send all these people to war over a war that was illegal, could we? Over a war that was about construction and oil, could we? Or assassinate a president, or Martin Luther King. I don't know. It didn't look good. He looked very flustered, and it just didn't look. To me, it made the other guy look very intellectual because he seemed to know a lot about different things. And we all know that elections, they change borders and all this kind of stuff, and the campaigns they use. So, I don't know. I saw some things on YouTube and, talking about the dead people voting. I mean, if that is the case, well, they're just going to pretend that doesn't matter? Well, how did dead people vote? If there is even one person, you've got a question, well, how is that possible? Well, unless you're just going to say, no, it wasn't the government, it's just the people doing it. Oh, the people are corrupt, not the government, not the system. The people wanted to add an extra vote, so they used their dead relative or used some other dead relative to vote. Take care, take it easy, God bless, and peace.